So is that, you guys just go straight down? Is this as far as you gotten in the agenda so far? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So just a reminder, don't forget about the IACV dinner if you haven't done it already. Take advantage. Let's see. And then Camille, you had a note about Puma.
Yes, like we continue testing Puma. Unfortunately, we continue also seeing some time performance penalty. Like we enabled that today on Web02, but it seems that there is still like about like 15 to 25. Like it really depends on like what kind of percentile you are looking for. There is still like a penalty on the duration. I'm gonna be deep diving more that tomorrow. I may even like open some Zoom chat tomorrow during like working hours to kind of debug that in more depth, exactly in what cases we see these increases of the timings, because like we have a ton of observability metrics, so we could understand better if there is something else that we missed, or is it just Puma that it works like that.
Okay, thanks. All right. Yeah, so I think it was on Friday, Joshua and I went through 12.5 and moved things that were fairly obvious that they weren't going to close by Sunday. So I think the only thing, well, these are the only two we left open. So those were Camille's. Any updates on these, Camille? Do they just need to move into 12.6?
They are done. We only need to validate it. I'm gonna validate it tomorrow with Jarv, but everything is merged. It's even on production right now, so we need only to validate that it behaves correctly.
Okay.
I have a question. So do you add workflow verification kind of after it's merged or after it's deployed and then you test it, and then when it's verified, you just move it to done? Is that how you do it?
Technically, yes, I added workflow verification myself, but we should see workflow staging and workflow production on these issues automatically. For unknown reasons, we didn't get this label applied automatically.
Okay, that's really cool, actually.
So from what I'm reading, what I've read in the past is it's not automatic. We need to change the workflow label to verification when development work's been done.
So, from what I understand, we change the verification when all related changes are merged, and like the development is done. Like you consider this issue as a finished, but it was not yet validated on the on staging and production.
Right.
And technically, we should close the issue once we get to this validation. When we validate that actually it's working properly as designed on at least staging, I guess. This is like the minimum to close the issue. This is what we usually do as well.
Okay. I'll add a note here.
Yeah, I know there was discussion around changing that label because people didn't like the fact that verification happened after it already shipped. So I'm not quite sure where that ended up, but I know that was like the change people are looking to do.
Okay. All right, so waiting on those. Let's see. So we have a lot in 12.6, and actually, no, it's not the, sorry, wrong link. Rather than trying to look at the board, because it's kind of noisy, I put this query together so we could run through what's on 12.6. So the main goal is carryover for import and export and Sidekick. A lot of the work is already assigned. There's a few that are not. But let's run through what's in 12.6 and make sure they make sense and reprioritize where we need to and even move things out. So let's see, first one, Alexi, looks like you just opened this one up.
Yeah, that's a new issue. While doing my fix on particular relations not being imported, we discussed with George and Nicola that we could probably rework this edge case to reduce the complexity a little bit. So that's a proposal, but I didn't start working on it yet. But we have an idea what we could do.
Okay. Is it,
So it's some sort of follow-up. It doesn't block us from merging the fix, which is currently reviewed by maintainer.
okay. Does this feel like a 12.6? Cool.
Yes, I guess this should be 12.6.
Okay.
Alexi, I
Yes.
have a question. Do you know about the status of the group import-export?
What do you mean, the status of the group?
Because like I know that like the I think manage team or like some part of the team, they started working on the group import-export at some point.
No, I didn't check on that yet.
I'm asking because I see George Kurtzov mentioned here, and he's gonna be working on the group import.
Yeah,
export, and
yeah, he did.
Some.
But I'm trying to look him up on most of the merge requests we are doing. So I guess we could try to detect any conflicts early on. So for now, we didn't intersect on that. But that's a good point. That's a good point. I will keep this in mind.
Should we like sync with the other team that is working on the group import export, because there's gonna be some overlap between what you are doing and what they are doing. And,
okay.
I'm particularly interested about this project object builder and like unique relations, things that like you are fixing right now. The more we generalize that, the less conflicts we're gonna have with what they are doing. So we could guide them a little like how to extend these.
Okay, this makes sense, especially since we will be discussing our versioning mechanism, which is also like interesting for the team. So let me create a meeting this week for our team and import team. I will propose some time and we'll discuss. That's a good call.
All right. So next one, make it possible to import older compatible versions.
Yeah, this one is Nicola started to look at. To be honest, I wasn't able to properly design and work on it. I only created an issue and like unwrapped some ideas that Camille initially proposed. But our current strategy is to have a meeting this week to prepare some notes and have a meeting discussing how we're gonna tackle this issue. So somewhere midweek, we'll meet with Camille and Nicola and whoever is interested on the team. Maybe we will even have these two meetings together.
I think I might join
Manage
out of curiosity.
Sure.
I will working on it. It's gonna be interesting to also.
Yeah, of course, I will post.
Yeah.
Link.
I started looking in this one, and I will probably post tomorrow my comments, and I will maybe prepare the POC as well, so we can like discuss.
Thank you.
I'm really curious about the POC, because like I think like starting with the POC is really like the great idea to take a look at exactly what needs to be changed, so we should have much better understanding about like the best approach. So
I agree.
Good luck.
Thanks.
No pressure.
I usually tend to say keep swimming to the forward shore.
This one's not specific to memory team, but something Camille's still working on.
Yes, I merged like the last iteration, but like I have some follow-up topics. Basically, like these 3 topics that I want to follow up as a second iteration to kind of conclude these change set, because it's actually like not very well mentioned exactly how to deal with the temporary storage and everything else, especially that we likely really want to move. We try to get to move into 12-factor up, which proves to be quite difficult. So describing exactly what we should avoid doing in the future, this is my goal. So if you could assign that to myself, to me, I just assigned that myself to me. Actually, I'm the second on the list.
I must say it's fascinating how many comments were in these merge requests.
You got up over 90, right?
So I was actually thinking that it's gonna be like way worse. So it was not really like that big in the end.
It's a good stability test as well for us.
Okay. I'm going to leave some time at the end of this meeting so we can make sure that we talk about the goals for import, export, and Sidekick, but we'll run through the issues as quickly as we can, probably till about 8 o'clock. I have this meeting extended for another 20 minutes. So just so you know, if I stop talking about issues and switch over, that's why. So let's see, looks like a new one. Emil?
I would move that in the future. I know that Ben from the monitor team, actually APM team, asked us somewhere in the discussion if we would be willing to pick changing Prometheus library to the upstream.
Oh, is it related to that one?
Take a look at the comment. I think it was mentioned somewhere here. I don't think that it's so easy to do it right now, because the upstream library is. Oh,
there we go.
Okay, this is actually the comment. One comment above, because we are still using our own fork of the library. It was done very long time ago. There is upstream one, which is super performant. In our use case, it's like 10 times slower. So it's not very easy to do because we would have to pretty much rewrite all queries that we implemented in our fork to the upstream library. So this was this issue I created to solve some specific problem, but we overcome that problem with the separate endpoint on Sidekick exporter, so it's not really that much relevant at this moment. Okay, there was some other comment when Ben explicitly mentioned if we would be able to pick that, and I CC you correct on that one. But as for this one, I don't think that this is super important to focus on right now.
Okay, how far out should we put it? Is it this backlog or just a milestone or two out?
I would put that in the backlog, but I think likely we should look if we have the epic for that story, because changing this library becomes bigger and bigger task, and I don't think that we really track all the deficiencies and problems that we have with the current. We don't really have a lot of problems with the current library. That's the problem. So there is no big incentive to rewrite that now. But it's not really something that can be done in the single milestone as a side story. That's my worry. So I would say backlog, but likely are we gonna look for the epic as well if we have the epic for that.
Yeah, I remember the issue. I can't find it quickly, but I've written down a note to find it, so I'll assign it to myself for now. Okay. And this one's Matthias.
Yeah, it's funny because Chinyu just created a story that was very similar in the main problem statement. So this kind of came out at the time. It came up at the time where we were looking at the problem booking.com we're running into with the process kind of locking up and the memory killer not kicking in. And so the TLDR is, I think if we want to get more reliable process supervision, we shouldn't have the process supervise itself, because currently we run threads within the workers that check for certain conditions, and if they're met, we kill off the process. But that makes it very susceptible to kind of external problems where the process might get into some kind of locked up state, and that will lock the monitoring component as well. So the idea was, what if we like pulled all of this out and would run a separate process that runs all these supervision functions. I like another thing that I touched on here was that we have a few of them, and it's quite confusing. I think they were just created at different points in time in GitLab's history and not really consolidated well. So I think maybe we could revisit all of them and, put them in one place so that we have like one supervisor process that makes sure our workers are healthy. That was the main idea behind that ticket. It's not like super important, but it's like, yeah, I just create these things as I stumble over things that I find feel weird or cause problems. It will probably help the customer we have now at least get their system into a running state again.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking, maybe.
But yeah, we haven't talked about it at all, so we need to look at it more.
This might be something we'll have to push out. I think I'll push it to the next milestone for now, because it doesn't seem like something we're going to execute on immediately, and it might tie into the goals of our Sidekick Epic, and what does that get us as far as overhead. So, all right.
Cool.
Matthias, also there is like Andrew is doing a lot of work on the Sidekey cluster, especially like the filtering and the status attribution. So we may also like keep in touch with Andrew and like his plan about that, because we may be kind of hitting each other's toes while doing that.
Yeah, totally. That's why I just played the ball back to Andrew. Actually, I think I assigned him to the ticket, just to get like his eyes on it and make him aware of it, that like this is something we ran into. I haven't worked on this at all, so no time spent so far outside of creating the issue.
Yeah, I mean, this could be, I know you proposed it in the retro, but this could be something like a story kickoff where we talk about and break down the work. And this, it even seems like this could be a decent candidate for an epic down the road. So, right.
Josh, do you know about like the status of the Sidekick cluster approval of moving into CE?
So I got a little more pushback than I expected from support. Their main concern was that people tried to like configure HA in creative ways, and then that just and then if they don't use the official HA features of GitLab, then like support has to end up supporting them, and it's very costly from a support standpoint to support free users with HA-like installations. And their thought was that this is basically the first point of scaling that you hit as you ramp up before you go multi-node. And so their concern was that as you push more of this down to core, that they'll end up having to support more and more folks on starter who are running HA-like scenarios with complex interactions, and it's just going to be more costly. And so I think the proposal I made to them was maybe we have a definition of what HA means that we can all agree on, and that seemed to alleviate their concerns. And so I just need to return back to that and try and see if we can drive that forward. The sales team, I've announced a couple places. I didn't go through the entire list, kind of bumped into support first, but they didn't seem to push back. So I don't think they really care frankly about this, but the support team did. So.
And just to be clear, we're talking about this issue right here, right, Camille?
Yeah, so yes, I think that this is the exact issue, and there should be like related product approval issue at the bottom.
Yeah, there is. So the list as there is, I've pinged a few people in the sales channel. I haven't gone through all of the official of checklist items for pinging sales. There's a strong argument to be made that it's not going to impact sales because, quite frankly, as support noted, is that Omnibus isn't aware of licenses, and so you can currently configure this even if you're not premium. So our documentation says it's premium. It says the starter. I think maybe can't remember if it's starter or premium, but that's starter. But you can configure this as long as you're on EE, and it'll run just fine. Yeah. So I should keep driving this through. So it's on my plate to do.
So maybe like a good place for us to focus this is like close definition of HA, because it's also like related with Puma, and I'm gonna be working on that as well, finishing some related parts of that. So if we get like this clearly described, we could clearly define what is the place of the Sidekiq cluster in that picture.
Yeah, I think so. So I think it makes sense. I think we'll get to move this down. I think it makes sense given the engineering complexity and the fact that we're missing a couple things, and the fact that's not really driving sales. And so once we get, I think we should got to resolve the support concerns, which they're okay with my proposed definition of HA. And so then just got to run that definition of past sales and other folks to get that sort of noted. Because right now, as far as I know, we have no actual definition of HA, and it's just sort of whatever the support team feels like implementing or can feel like they can defend.
I mean, I don't know if that addresses the concerns, but like one benefit outside of any HA discussions that I see is that we reduce the number of combinations of the like configurations you can run GitLab in, and specifically Sidekiq. So we would boil this all down into like just one case, which just makes it way easier to maintain it, easier to think about it, because everyone will be talking about the same thing. So I think that would extend to support, because if there's only one way to run Sidekiq, you know, there's no difference between supporting a premium customer or an HA deployment or just a very simple one node deployment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good point to ensure they're aware of. It's noted in the issue, but I'm not sure if they read all the way through or necessarily understood that that was a benefit of this. That's certainly one of the benefits I noted in the issue, that it'll simplify our testing matrix and just the overall cognitive load of understanding what the heck is going on with that instance. So yeah, no, I think it's I've been wrapped up in another item over in the search team the last couple of days, trying to get that through. So I need to return back to this and keep driving this forward. So it's on my plate, and I think we're through the challenging parts of the search item. So
like, should I move?
Okay. I would keep it until at 6. I think we can probably get this done relatively quickly. I would hope.
Yes, but like, can we actually close that, Matthias, in the 20.6? Like, move that? Because like, why I'm asking and why I'm kind of pushing on that, we kind of depend on doing this transition to fix Prometheus metrics on the Sidekiq when running in the cluster mode. We are not starting on doing that because it adds another matrix on the combinations, and we were trying to fix Prometheus metrics on the Sidekiq something like 5 times already, each time breaking that in a different way. So we kind of like depending on unifying the architecture to fix that only in one way. Like have only one way of running application, fix the metrics only in one way, have a Sidekiq exporter done in the one way, as Matthias also mentioning, and also Chinyu, have memory killer done in the one way. So we kind of depending a lot on this Sidekiq cluster move, because it's gonna significantly simplify process tree for running Sidekiq for us.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, there's all this work Andrew is doing in that space currently. So it would be interesting to see how that fits with what's on his mind currently.
I will move this out to 12.6, and then we can find a time to sync up on some of the Sidekiq related work. Planning, especially for 12.7. So we are at 8 o'clock, so if anybody needs to drop off, so yeah, we'll take a look at the issues list. So gotten through probably half. I want to jump over to the bigger epics and start talking about that. What's the exit criteria? What does success look like to get through those, and make sure that we feel comfortable with a Q4 finish on those. And if we don't, we need to start talking about it now. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so thanks for the point that, so I'll draw that forward. One quick note on, before we leave the topic of Sidekiq imports entirely. I've been getting pinged by the Booking.com team recently So with their Sidekick memory killer not working, I think this issue, the person who's been commenting, this Francois Stein person, is actually from Booking.com. So they're starting to get a little bit antsy as far as getting this fixed. They have 3,000 or so seats. I'm not sure what edition they buy, but they're a pretty big customer, pretty marquee name, as I'm sure a lot of folks are aware of Booking.com. So the question is what's the right next step here? Is there some type of logs that we can ask for support? Or is there, I'll put this issue in chat here real fast. This is the issue that the customer.
I mean, we turned around and asked
that, yeah.
for a couple things several times, and what they produced so far just wasn't useful, especially since the last, we asked for like a process listing, but he pulled one from a time where there was no problem. So it was just a generic like system process listing, which was not helpful. So at this point, I don't think we can, figure out what's going on just based on these like back and forth conversations we had with Francois. So I guess the two options were we could get like into some live debugging session with them if they would grant. Like the thing is, I have no idea how we've dealt with these things in the past. I mean, we would need to get access to their production environment to like pull more data, like as this problem is happening, which I don't even know if that's an option, because for them, that's pretty much a partial outage because their jobs get stuck. They queue up. So they go in and they kill Sidekick workers manually when this happens. So they probably also have an interest in, unblocking these pipes, as soon as possible as it happened, and not get on a call with us and for like hours to figure this out. So I'm a bit at a loss here, like how to move forward.
So like from the past experience with the Crucial clients, we were actually doing live debugging sessions when it was needed, because it was like the fastest to really debug these kind of problems. I think it's like taking so long already that likely we're gonna, if we ask for that explicitly, we're gonna find a time to kind of jump on that and find the case, because like it's not something that is happening like it's happening at random, but also quite frequently and for quite some time already. So it's not that it's not reproducible on our side, but it's very common on their side. So
yeah, so I mean, I haven't done this before, but what I'd be happy to do is maybe shadow someone or help do it together with someone who has like done something like this before.
I'm happy to join this call, because I have the experience working with the customers. So Matthias, we could join like together. The question is really like aligning that with the support team and finding the right time.
Exactly, because we would have to do it very kind of ad hoc, right? Because we want to do it when it's happening.
So I also assume that they don't run the single side keynote. So
I think they do, actually. It sounded like they do. Yeah, I asked them, there's a very long, so this is just the customer ticket, I think. Oh no, sorry, this is the original one. So there's another one. So it kind of then spilled over the discussion into an internal, into a confidential ticket.
I think I think it's the one I noted probably in the Zoom chat, Greg, if you want to share that one.
Oh yeah. And but in one of them, at least, I think they said they don't use Sidekick cluster. I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah.
Yes, but like they can still have multiple nodes running Sidekick.
Oh yeah, sure. Right.
So then like if one node would be dormant, we would basically be able to debug that while they continue like processing the rest of the Sidekick jobs.
But by the way, Camille, how do you feel about, because we have the new the demonized memory killer? They're on 12.2. So I would assume, I'm pretty sure they use, you can tell by the log messages as well, they use the Sidekick middleware based memory killer. So I'm also wondering if there's like one more thing we might want to try. I don't know how like feasible it is for them to upgrade to GitLab 12.4.
I don't think that this structurally changes the behavior. So I'm expecting that they're gonna see the same problem. because it uses the same signaling, the same
Mhm.
shutdown procedure. So and also it starts shutdowning and signaling from the separate thread.
Right.
So it only different method of gathering metrics, but it doesn't structurally change the way how it works. So
Mhm.
I would expect that they're gonna see the same problem as they are seeing right now.
So is
Yep, fair enough.
Timo the support contact here, Josh?
He's the TAM, I believe.
Okay.
Our account manager for folks who haven't TAM's our technical account manager. Actually, he might be the salesperson. Actually, I think he's sales.
Yeah, it looks like Philippe is the TAM
Yeah,
and Francois
that's the
is
customer.
Customer.
Yep.
So who would be our support counterpart?
So what I'll do is I'll just, since we're open to a call, what might help, and you guys can obviously correct me if I'm wrong here, but maybe we have a call just to maybe talk to them, and I'm not sure if you have before, talk with support and sort of maybe either arm them with what commands we want them to run, make sure they understand them, make sure they understand the parameters on which we want them to run it, or alternatively, if we think we only option is to get them a call when this is happening, is to maybe then propose that on other either an email through support or in that call. But I'm open to either way. If we think is this so the only option we think is actually getting the call when it's happening, or do we think we can maybe try and arm them with some debugging tools or talk through it or learn more about their environment, maybe in a scheduled call first?
So Matthias, did we get like PS output from them when it's happening?
Well, not when it's happening is the point. So he posted a PS output, but it was not from a time where it actually happened. And also, I actually asked if he could use PS3 because that gives us the breakdown of the threads as well. But he has some kind of different, or the node it ran on had a different version of PS3 that didn't support thread output. So it wasn't super useful, the output. But I still think it's a good idea to maybe give them, maybe we can hand them like a bundle of tools or binaries that they could deploy on their servers, because I don't think we want to go in a live session and start installing stuff on their machines, right?
I'm like, from my perspective, I'm most interested about PS3 from the sidekey process below, open FD handles on the process, and basically this is the most interesting things to me.
Yep.
The simplest way to get this data out would be asking them, can you create a snapshot of the proc directory, basically? This would be like the simplest way of like getting snapshot from this happening. Just I don't know, like, because different organizations, they are kind of reluctant to execute external provided binaries. They are also a little reluctant to provide potentially sensitive data like process name and things like that. So I have no clue how it works with them, but like it seems from the discussion that they are very cautious on giving us a lot of details. So
so maybe we give them a list of things that we would like to see, and if they say no, then we set up the live session so that they can just show us, so that they're not actually writing it down and putting it into an issue. So step one, again, write some instructions. Hey, can you run this and send us the information? And if they don't want to, then we can set up the live meeting. Does that sound good?
Yeah, so the problem with the instructions is, okay, let's ask him first what environment exactly they're running this on. I think they're on like a Red Hat Linux, and like the tools, for instance, that I had tried to give them instructions for what they could run when it happens, but it wasn't even the same version of the tool, so that some of the command line options I had provided didn't even exist on their deployment. So that was a bit tricky. So we first maybe need to figure out like what they're even on exactly.
Okay. So what we can do in me is two things. At short term, I'll just I'll find out with Philippe what the support contact is and who they've been working with.
Mhm.
And we can work to get that point of contact established. And then
Right.
also another way, one way would just be to get a list of commands that I'm going to run, and then just tell them, either ask for the environment they're running on, or also just tell them what we need, and they might be able to figure out on their side what the right command options are. Just be like, hey, we're looking for file handles, we're looking for this. So your CL options may vary on your environment, but this is kind of what the information is that we need.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, cool. We can move on. Yeah, thanks. All right, so I'll get that going, and we can communicate in that issue perhaps, or just in Slack here with Timo and Philippe.
Okay, and I got notes here. I can put a note in the confidential issue if that is a better place to put it. Let's see, so I think we'll probably have to take the discussion about Sidekick and import asynchronous since Alexi left, Jinyu's not here. I'll write up some notes and put it maybe on the memory team board so we can better define those. But we can run through issues now. We'll just keep running through the issues. And we'll take the other part, asynchronous. So let's see. Probably on this one now, avoid rugged patches with Puma. And Camille. It's a suggestion, but I don't see identified work here. Did we lose Camille?
I don't know anything about that, but I definitely gonna need some help on doing that. It's not. It doesn't seem like really big item, but this is likely the next item for me to check when validating Puma on production. So I would definitely keep that in the 12.6 to ensure that we close that, and at least check mark another thing that like we covered.
Yep. Right. I think this one's pretty well defined and in process, right? Expanding the test coverage, and that's Alexi's not here. Not sure what this one is.
It is refactor related also to import export. It also like what is Alexi kind of doing, but like we decided to postpone that item till we improve the testing coverage, which kind of shows a lot of small quirks and small bugs that we have to fix first. So yes, it's kind of like related in part of the re-architecture project import export and have that in much better shape than it is.
Okay. This Matthias.
Yeah, and I need to groom this out a bit more. So because the context for this is that we ended up for 12.5 shipping like the barest minimal change we could to have Redis connection pool sizes scale with the number of threads under Puma, just to even have the ability to do that. But it's like quite messy the way it is all set up. And so I had started to work on a refactoring, but it wasn't really going quite in the right direction. And it wasn't really covering all the cases. So we said, let's do the smallest thing first, and then we can go back and fix it on like a broader scale. So that description is probably not super accurate anymore, but yeah, I guess that's still something we want to do. Yeah, I worked on this today, actually.
Okay.
Oh, parts of it.
Does this feel like something that can be done in 12.6?
I think we can definitely make progress on it in 12.6. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, did you have any thoughts on this, Camille, as well?
So like as we discussed, if we gonna ship that, I would like kind of conclude that part of that story. But given the amount of the hacks and like behavior or like places where we check for the different type of the service that we are running, I think that we are kind of hitting critical mass at this moment that we should have that like properly supported, because like if you look at the amount of the defined Puma or defined unicorn or defined side key, it kind of shows you like a ridiculous amount of the usage patterns of that. So,
and I mean, we still have to settle for like making this super solid the way we check for the environment that we currently run in, but we have a few ideas, and yeah, well, I guess I can work on a proof of concept.
So maybe a better way to define that is like unify first process detection across the code base, and kind of make this like as a requirement and 12.6, but connection per config as it fits, because like we need to unify the process detection first before we can actually get back to that.
Yeah, totally agree. That's how I'm going about it now, actually. And that's why I meant the story isn't really super, I can update it. We can repurpose this story to actually focus on the bit it mentions under, that's just like a side note under approach here. So we should also consolidate the test for the current end. So we can make it all about that first.
So how about differently? Because this issue actually describes very specific thing to solve. Should we create just a separate issue that precedes this one?
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
And kind of link that one to that one that we create, and
make the
this
new
one
one
as
a
blocked.
prerequisite for this one. Yeah.
And make this one as blocked, because like it's actually like this is the thing that we have to solve anyway. So the ordering, this issue is still like fully valid.
Right. Okay, I'll do that. I can do that.
So we already talked about that one. Documentation issue for Camille.
Yes, I'm gonna be working on that and finalizing that. I have a few of these documentation issues to cover. And it also kind of fits into discussion with Josh about HA definition, because I am assuming that it's gonna be part of HA definition as well, as at least as a link to describing how to achieve HA as for the configuration of the application.
Okay. Matthias, this one's on you.
Matthias, you are muted.
Oh.
Sorry, like sometimes the wrong window focus. So I said, I forgot where we were with that, but I think we came out of this saying we wanted to look into migrating to the upstream Prometheus first, and then do this.
I don't think that this is prerequisite, because the upstream application, upstream library, gonna have the same set of the problems. Because we lose these metrics because we constantly clean the directory on the restart. And since we run the Sidekick cluster, because it's happening on the Sidekick cluster configuration, that like we lose these metrics. And since like this restart is kind of like disconnected, and every process works on the same directory, this cleanup should happen by the Sidekick cluster only, and it kind of restarts all the processes in the bulk.
But does like, I mean, the new upstream, so the official Prometheus Ruby client, they have multi-process support baked in right now, right? Do they not?
It works exactly the same.
Okay. So they do not account for any like stale metrics potentially being.
No. Actually, like this is why I'm saying about like this migrating to the upstream, that right now it doesn't give us any benefits other than we have to fix a lot of stuff to make it performant on GitLab.com scale. Because structurally it is behaving exactly the same. It's just significantly less efficient.
Okay. All right, fair point. So I guess the second point I'm not sure about is how big of an issue this actually is, because correct me if I'm wrong, Camille, but I think this only happens to a very small window of time, right? Because as these workers come and go, eventually one will be the last winner, right? Who actually creates that directory. So I think only during like a rolling restart or something, or restarting workers in any other way, there might be the small window of time where we have a small blip, like where metrics go away, right? So it's not like actually like a huge issue right now.
And this is tricky because I would say I don't know, really, because like if you look at the comments from the ban, we actually see like problems on the production of the side key metrics and side keys running in the cluster mode, because this issue also happens on the start. So if for example, your side key process takes 10 seconds to start, and you start the side key processes sequentially, and there is like delay between them, you may lose some of the linked files from the startup. It's inherently the problem of us like managing this directory from the side key process, not from the supervisor process. This is actually the problem what we are facing. But like the only way to really solve that once and for all is like move this complex logic to side key cluster.
Okay.
But like we're not gonna move that to the side key cluster because we're gonna have to maintain separate logic for the core and side key cluster.
I mean,
kind of like
okay.
another set of the conditions, which is like
fair enough. But in terms of ownership, do you think this is actually well suited for our team? Because this sounds more to me like a monitor or infrastructure story. Even I mean, we notice it first, but I mean, is this something we should be working on?
and this is the tricky part, because this is the same problem of like with the Prometheus upstream library. It's kind of like group not owned. It's like one of these gray area that's like this set of the issues and ethics, they are currently not owned by anyone.
So the monitor team does not own the main library we use for monitoring?
They use in the past, but the definition of the team responsibilities did change since that time.
Oh, interesting. So
the
Prometheus. Sorry, go ahead.
It's basically like, for example, there is monitor APM team, which is application Prometheus metrics, which is like the Prometheus feature used by the users, but not the Prometheus feature used internally as a backstage feature.
Oh, okay, there's a discussion there, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say that. So this is also about the Prometheus multiprocess memory aggregate, like memory library. McMill, got it.
Yeah, so like it's all of that kind of like falls into the same category, kind of like of the Prometheus library and the way how we interact with this library.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was recently asked if we could take this on, and I said, let me think about it, basically. If we are looking at building proactive tools to indicate to developers, like through CI/CD or wherever, you know, their overall growth of memory over time, then it might make sense for us to own it, but we're far away from that right now. So that's why I was kind of on the fence on whether or not we should own this. I could see us owning it in the future, but right now it doesn't make any sense.
So historically, monitoring did own this. I would argue they probably still should.
Say that again?
The monitoring team did own this. They built it originally. And there's an issue to cut over to the upstream Prometheus library. The deal, well, not the deal, but the plan I had with Kenny was that once the monitoring team got everything sort of stable and working, that like distribution would pick up some of the ongoing like creation of alerts and things like that. But the foundational work they had to still drive and own until it got working. So like this one here, I mean, we can take it on, but yeah, I'm not sure.
The tricky part about migrating is not so straightforward. It's not like a drop-in, like from the interface perspective, it's a drop-in replacement, and maybe this is like the first step is to align our fork to have the same interface as upstream library, but we cannot really switch today to the upstream library because it's not performant. That's the biggest issue. And all of the problems that we have with our library and like the way we handle that, they are not solved by the upstream library anyway. So like from my perspective, there is no big incentive right now to change that at all. Except if we like really spend, I don't know, 3 or 4 releases of like fully focused like 1 or 2 people on this particular topic. But this is this kind of investment at this moment.
Got it. Okay. I had thought, or I was told that they had solved the performance problems and it was now available upstream. But it sounds like
so like from my testing, what I did, it seems like that the upstream library uses fully Ruby, and this Ruby marshalling process is 10 times slower than on our fork. And given that right now marshalling of the metrics on GitHub.com takes around 2 seconds, I don't think that this is acceptable that like we switch to the upstream library and let's say that it's like even like 10 seconds. It's significantly worse than what we have today. And like even 2 seconds is causing us like some troubles with running. So that's the tricky part, that like if we're gonna move to the upstream, it has to have the same performance benefits as ours, and it doesn't have right now.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like we need a larger conversation here, Craig. Maybe you and I can chat. It sounds like maybe you should just take this on, I guess. I mean,
it doesn't sound like
sure.
there's any immediate work to do right now. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here of like maybe a Sidekick Next epic with a bunch of related issues that could include this one as well. So yeah, you and I can sync up later this week. But we are pretty much at time. So what I would ask is have everybody look through issues that are assigned to them for 12.6, make sure that they make sense and you're not overloaded. And if you are, then we can have an asynchronous conversation about it, or just move things that you know you're not going to touch in 12.6. And then I will spin up some issues to talk about the goals for import, export, and Sidekick. I'll probably do them separately in the memory team project so that we're not spamming everyone that's watching those other issues. And then once we actually get the goals and objectives for those 2 epics, then I'll copy them over to the main epics. All right. Anything else anybody wants to cover in the next 2 minutes? Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.